Good morning, students. So today we are going to discuss on a new chapter, that is private, public, and global enterprises. Private, public, and global enterprises. So in your day-to-day life, you might have come across all types of business organizations. So in the previous classes also, we have studied different forms of business organization. So in your day-to-day life, like I told you, you might have come across different types of business organization. Okay, so in your neighbor market, there are shops owned by sole proprietor or big retail organizations run by a company. So then there are people providing you services like legal services, maybe, or medical services, or being owned by more than one person, that is partnership form of business organization maybe. So these are all privately owned business organization. So similarly, there are other offices or places of business which may be owned by the government. So it is not just the government, or sorry, it is not just the private organization who are carrying out the business. There are government organization also who carry out the business efficiently. So railway is an what example. So railway is an organization which is only owned and managed by the government. So post office in your locality, it is also owned by the post and telegraph department. There is all these organizations, they come under the government. So particularly in cities and towns, these post offices or postal services, they have totally getting reduced day by day. So this is because of plenty of private courier services firms operating in the bigger towns. So ಮೊದಲೆಲ್ಲ ಹೇಗಾಗಿತ್ತು ಅಂದರೆ ಏನಾದ್ರು ಒಂದು ಪಾರ್ಸಲ್ ಬರಬೇಕು ಅಂದರೆ it has to come through postal services or postal department. But now it's like, as you have different courier services, it's like the work or the what the job of the postal services are getting reduced day by day. Okay, so there are businesses which operates in more than one country as well. Yes, so these kind of organization which work in more than one country is called as global enterprise. So today in this session, we will be discussing about what are the private, public, and the global enterprise. So what are the organization and where do they exist, like ಯಾವುದರ ಕೆಳಗೆ ಅದು ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಈ ಕ್ಲಾಸಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವೇನು ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ, ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. So when coming to your private sector and public sector, like there are all kinds of business organizations, small as well as large industrial organization or trading organization. It may be privately owned or governmentally owned, which exist in our country. So ನಮ್ಮ ಕಂಟ್ರಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ರೀತಿ ಇದು, ಅದು ಪ್ರೈವೇಟ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು ಅಥವಾ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ದೊಡ್ಡ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಸಣ್ಣ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು. ಸೊ ಯು ಫೈಂಡ್ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಕೈಂಡ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ in our country. So these organizations, they affect our daily economic life, and therefore they become important in an Indian economy. Okay, so since the Indian economy consists of both privately owned as well as the government owned business enterprise, it is known as mixed economy. So the reason why it is called as mixed economy is like ಅಲ್ಲಿ private sector ಅವರು ಇರ್ತಾರೆ, public sector ಅವರು ಇರ್ತಾರೆ. Okay, so that is the main reason it is called as mixed economy, because there exist both private as well as public sector enterprises. So under your Indian economy, it's like the government of India, it has opted for the mixed economy, where both private and government enterprises are allowed to operate. So the economy therefore may be classified into two sectors. Therefore the economy can be classified into two sectors. One is private sector and the other one is public sector. Yes, so like I told you, it's the government, it has allowed to operate both the private as well as public enterprises. So the economy is divided into two or classified into two sectors. One is private sector and the other one is public sector. So private sector, under private sector, it's like it consists of a business organization. It consists of business organization which is owned by individual or group of individual like as you have studied in your previous chapter. So ಹೇಗೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ previous chapter ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಲ್ತಿರ್ತೀರಿ, like sole proprietorship may be, or your partnership form of business organization may be, or your joint stock company may be. So it's like they are owned by individual or group of individuals. So the various forms of organization are sole proprietorship, partnership form of business organization, joint in the family business, cooperative form of business organization, yes, and what your normal is joint stock company. So again you have different kinds of what private sector organizations. So when coming to your public sector, the public sector, it consists of various organization. It consists of various organization owned and managed by the government. It consists of various organization owned and managed by the government. So these organization may either be partly or only owned by central or state government. So the central government ಕೆಳಗಿರಬಹುದು ಅಥವಾ state government ಕೆಳಗಿರಬಹುದು. Totally it is owned and managed by the government. ಅದು ಟೋಟಲ್ ಏನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಏನು ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅದು ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದೇ ಮೇ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಬಿ ಅ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಆರ್ ಕಮ್ ಇನ್ ಟು ಎಕ್ಸಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಬೈ ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಪಾರ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟ್. ಸೊ ಒಂದು ಅದು ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಕೆಳಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಎಸ್ ಒಂದು ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಕೆಳಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಅಥವಾ ಇಟ್ ಮೇ ಕಮ್ ಅಂಡರ್ ಆರ್ ಕಮ್ ಇನ್ ಟು ಎಕ್ಸಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಬೈ ಅ ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟ್ ವಿಚ್ ಇಸ್ ಪಾಸ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ ದಿ ಪಾರ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟ್. ಸೊ ದ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಥ್ರೂ ದೀಸ್ ಎಂಟರ್ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಸಿಪೇಟ್ ಇನ್ ದಿ ಎಕನಾಮಿಕ್ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟೀಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಕಂಟ್ರಿ. Yes, government through these enterprise, what they do is like they participate in the economic activities of the country. They participate in the economic activities of the country. So the next concept is like forms of organizing public sector enterprises. So in the previous class, in the previous chapter, we studied about what is partnership, what is sole proprietorship, what is joint stock company, what is joint in the family business. So all those come under the private sector business organization. The private sector business organization. Here in this chapter, we will be studying about the public sector enterprises. So public sector enterprises ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಈ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಲಿತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸಿಂಗ್ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಸೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಎಂಟರ್ಪ್ರೈಸಸ್, ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸಿಂಗ್ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಸೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಎಂಟರ್ಪ್ರೈಸಸ್. ಸೊ government participation in the business and economic sector of the country needs some kind of organization frameworks to function. So you have studied about the forms of business organization like I told you in your previous class. Yes, so it may be sole proprietorship or partnership or joint in the family or cooperative or any other kind of business organization. So in public sector as it grows, an important question arises in respect of how it is to be organized or what form of organization it should take. So ಹೇಗೆ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಥವಾ ಅದನ್ನು ಏನು what form of organization it should take. So the government has a major role to play in the formation of public sector. They have, or the government, it has a major role to play in the public sector. So the government, they act through people. Yes, its offices or employees, and they take decision on behalf of the people. So government, it acts through its people, its officers, employees, and then they take decision on behalf of the government. Yes, then they take decision on behalf of the government. So for this purpose, public enterprises were formed by the government to participate in the economic activities of the country. That is for that reason, or it is for that reason, public enterprises were formed by the government to participate in the economic activities of the country. So they are expected to contribute to the economic development of the country. They are expected to contribute to the economic development of the country in today's liberalized competitive world. Yeah. So these public enterprises, they are owned by the public and are accountable to the public through the parliament. They are owned by the public and they are accountable to the public through the parliament. They are accountable to the public through the parliament. So they are characterized by public ownership. They are characterized by public ownership. They are characterized by public ownership. Okay. So It's like public funds being used for these activities and public accountability. So they are held as they are characterized by public ownership, public funds being used for its activities. So the public sector, what it does is it utilizes the fund of the public. Yes, it uses the public ownership, its public funds for its activities and the public accountability. So a public enterprise, it may take any form of organization. A public enterprise may take any particular form of organization depending upon the nature of its operations. A public enterprise, it may take any particular form of organization, depending upon the nature of its operations and their relationship with the government. So the suitability of the particular form of organization would depend upon its requirements. The suitability of a particular form of organization, it totally depends upon its requirement. So at the same time, in accordance with the general principles, any organization in the public sector should ensure organizational performance, productivity and quality standards. Like I told you, public enterprises, it may take any particular form of organization depending upon the nature of its operation. Yes, okay. So it's like the suitability of the particular form of organization will totally depend upon its requirements. So at the same time, in accordance with general principles, any organization in the public sector, should ensure organizational performance, productivity and quality standards. Organizational performance, productivity and quality standards. So there are different forms of public sector. So which are the different forms of public sector? So public sector underli yaudella forms baratte. So the first one is departmental undertaking, second one is statutory corporation, and the third one is government company. First one is departmental undertaking, second one is statutory corporation, and the third one is government company. Third one is government company. So we'll go to the first one, that is departmental undertakings. So the departmental undertakings, it is the oldest and most traditional form of organizing public enterprise. It is said that it is the oldest and also a most traditional form of organizing the public enterprise. So these enterprises, they are established as department of ministry. They are established as department of ministry and are considered as a part or the extension of ministry itself. They come under the department of ministry. So ಇಂಥ organization, departmental organization ಗಳೇನಿದೆ ಅದು ministry under ಬರುತ್ತೆ. Yes, so they are considered as the extension of ministry itself. So the government functions through departments. The government, it functions through departments and the activities performed by them are an integral part of the functioning. Yes, the activities performed by them are integral part of the functioning of the government. So they are they are not being situated as autonomous or independent institution. They are not autonomous. So they are totally under the control of ministry. Yes, they are called as, or they are considered as the extension of ministry also. So they are established as department. Yes, ministry ಕೆಳಗೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಡಿಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. So they are the extension of ministry. So they are not being constituted as autonomous or independent institution. Yes, they are not autonomous, independent Allah. Yes, okay. So as such are not independent or legal entities. They act through the officers of the government. So ಅವರು ಯಾವುದೇ ಕಾರಣಕ್ಕೆ ಇಂಡಿಪೆಂಡೆಂಟ್ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ದೇ ಆರ್ ನಾಟ್ ಇಂಡಿಪೆಂಡೆಂಟ್, ದೇ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟ್ ಥ್ರೂ ದಿ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್. ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಥ್ರೂ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ದೀಸ್ ಅಂಡರ್ಟೇಕಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಮೇ ಬಿ ಅಂಡರ್ ದಿ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಆರ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ and the rules of central and state government are applicable. the central and state government are applicable. So example railways irbodu ಅಥವಾ post and telegraphs irbodu. So all these are the example for departmental undertaking. So it's like they totally come under the department of ministry. The department of ministry under baratte. So they are the part or an extension of ministry itself. They are part or an extension of ministry itself. So it's like it is an integral part of the functioning through the government. So they are not considered as autonomous, or they are not given any autonomous rights. So avರಿಗೆ autonomous rights ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. They don't have any autonomous right to carry out. So they don't have any right to take decisions. So what they do is like they act through the government or officers of the government. So ಯಾರು ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಫಿಷಿಯಲ್ಸ್ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ, ಸೊ ಅವರ ಅಂಡರಲ್ಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಅವ್ರು ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ತಕ್ಕಂತೆ ಏನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದೇ ವಿಲ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟ್ ಅಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಟು ದಿ ವಾಟ್ officers of the government. So the employees under these kind of organization are government employees. The employees under these kind of organizations are government employees. So these undertakings may be under the central or the state government. These undertakings may be under central or the state government, and the rules of central or the state government will be applicable. The rules and regulations of central as well as the state government will be applicable. So the next concept is like features of departmental undertakings. Features of departmental undertaking. So what are the features of departmental undertaking? So departmental undertakings features in a law. Okay, so the first one is the funding of these enterprises come directly from the government treasury and are an annual appropriation from the budget of the government. So the revenue earned by these is also paid into the treasury. So yen funds beku, so in the organization the departmental undertakings, the fundings for these enterprises, it comes directly from the government treasury. So yen fundings beku the government treasury inda barutte. So they are appropriation from annual budget. So yen government the annual budget ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಏನು ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ದು ಆ್ಯನ್ಯಲ್ ಬಡ್ಜೆಟ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಫಂಡ್ಸನ್ನ ರೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ದೇ ಕಮ್ ಟು ಟ್ರೆಜರಿಗೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಆ ಟ್ರೆಜರಿಂದ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಫಂಡ್ಸನ್ನು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ದ ರೆವಿನ್ಯೂ ಅರ್ನ್ಡ್ ಬೈ ದೀಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಪೇಡ್ ಇನ್ ಟು ದಿ ಟ್ರೆಜರಿ. ದ ರೆವಿನ್ಯೂ ಅರ್ನ್ಡ್ ಬೈ ದೀಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಪೇಡ್ ಟು ದಿ ಟ್ರೆಜರಿ. ಸೊ ಏನು ರೆವಿನ್ಯೂ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಟ್ರೆಜರಿಗೆ ಪೇ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಎಸ್, ದ ರೆವಿನ್ಯೂ ಅರ್ನ್ಡ್ ಬೈ ದೀಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಪೇಡ್ ಇನ್ ಟು ದಿ ಟ್ರೆಜರಿ. ಸೊ ಏನು ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ರೆವಿನ್ಯೂ ಏನು ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಏನು ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಅದನ್ನು ಏನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಟ್ರೆಜರಿಗೇ ಪೇ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಪ್ರೊವೈಡೆಡ್ ಥ್ರೂ ಆ್ಯನ್ಯುವಲ್ ಬಡ್ಜೆಟ್. The second one is they are subject to accounting and auditing controls applicable to other government activities. So the other government activities also should carry out auditing activities and accounting activities. So accounting ಮತ್ತು auditing activities ನ carry out ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಯಾವುದೆಲ್ಲ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅದು. Okay, so this organization, that is the departmental undertaking, is also subject to accounting and auditing controls which is applicable to other government activities. So ಬೇರೆ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟೀಸ್ಗೆ ಏನೆಲ್ಲ ರೂಲ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ರೆಗ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಅಥವಾ ಏನು ಅಕೌಂಟಿಂಗ್ ಮತ್ತು ಆಡಿಟಿಂಗ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟಿವಿಟೀಸ್ ಇದಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಇನ್ಕ್ಲೂಡ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಥವಾ ಇನ್ಕ್ಲೂಡ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಅಂಥ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟಿವಿಟೀಸ್ ಅಥವಾ ಈ ಏನು ಡಿಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟಲ್ ಅಂಡರ್ಟೇಕಿಂಗ್ ಇದೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೂ ಕೂಡ ಸೇಮ್ ರೂಲ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ರೆಗ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಫಾಲೋ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಟು ಅಕೌಂಟಿಂಗ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಆಡಿಟಿಂಗ್ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್ಸ್. So the third one is like the employees of the enterprises are government servants and their recruitment and conditions of service are the same as that of other employees directly under the government. So they are headed by Indian Administrative Service officers and civil servants who are transferable from one ministry to another. So the employees are the one who is working under these kind of departments are government servants. So they are government employees. So ಯಾರು ಈ ಡಿಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟಲ್ಲಿ ವರ್ಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಸೊ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯೀಸ್. ದೇ ಆರ್ ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯೀಸ್. ಸೊ ಇವರನ್ನು ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯೀಸ್ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. Yes, so the recruitment and the conditions of service are the same as that of the other employees who are under the ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್. ಸೊ ಏನು ರಿಕ್ರೂಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇದೆ ಅಥವಾ ಸರ್ವಿಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಸೊ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಇಟ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಅಪ್ಲೈಸ್. ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಲೈಕ್ ದಿ ಅದರ್ ಪೀಪಲ್ ಹೂ ಆರ್ ದಿ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯೀಸ್. ಸೊ ಬಾಕಿ ಯಾರು ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯೀಸ್ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೇನು ರೂಲ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ರೆಗ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಸೇಮ್ ರೂಲ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ರೆಗ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಇವ್ರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಹೆಡೆಡ್ ಬೈ IAS ಆಫೀಸರ್ಸ್. ದೇ ಆರ್ ಹೆಡೆಡ್ ಬೈ IAS ಆಫೀಸರ್ಸ್ and civil servants who are transferable from one ministry to another ministry. So these people, that is government employees, they have to work according to the rules and regulations of IAS officers. IAS officers ಹೇಳಿರ್ತಾರೆ, ಅವರ ರೂಲ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ರೆಗ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ಸ್ ತಕ್ಕಂತೆ ಏನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಇವರು ವರ್ಕ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಅಂಡರ್ ದಿ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ ಅಡ್ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇಟಿವ್ ಸರ್ವಿಸ್ and people, that is officers and civil servants who gets transferred from one ministry to another ministry. They get transferred from one ministry to another ministry. So the fourth one is like, it is generally considered to be a major subdivision of the government department. It is generally considered to be a major subdivision of the government department and is subject to direct control of the ministry. And is subject to direct control of the ministry. So they come under, or they are usually they are considered as a subdivision of government department. So ಏನು government department ಇದೆ ಅದರ subdivision ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಎಸ್, ಅದರ ಸಬ್ಡಿವಿಷನ್ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಟು ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿ. ದೇ ಆರ್ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಟು ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿ. So the last point is like they are accountable to the ministry since their management is directly under the concerned ministry. So as they are under the control of ministry and they are considered as a part of ministry, so it's like they are accountable to the ministry. So the postal and telegraph department is accountable to that particular ministry since their management is directly under the concerned ministry. For example, ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿದಾಗೆ postal and telegraphs ಇದ್ರೆ, so ಅವರ ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಏನಿದೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಅವರು ಅಕೌಂಟೇಬಲ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತಾರೆ, or they are answerable for the what activities which are done by them. So they, to whom they are accountable is it, to their concerned ministry. So ಅವರ concerned ministry ಯಾರು ಇರ್ತಾರೆ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಇವರು ಅಕೌಂಟೇಬಲ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತಾರೆ. So the next concept is merits of departmental undertakings. Merits of departmental undertaking. So what are the merits of departmental undertaking? So the first one is like, these undertakings facilitate the parliament to exercise effective control over their operation. So they facilitate the parliament to exercise effective control over the operation. So what happens is like, when the things are put in the parliament, the activities goes on in a smoother manner. So if there are any problems or if there are any fund requirement available, then those things can be put into the parliament. That is why it is said that these undertakings, they facilitate the parliament to exercise effective control. So as it is under the control of the government, it's like there can be effective control over the operations of these kind of departments who come under the ministry. So ಇಂಥ ವಿಷಯಗಳು ಅವರ ಏನು ವಿಷಯಗಳಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅದು ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟಾಗಿ ಪಾರ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟಿಗೆ ತಲುಪೋ ಕಾರಣ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎಫೆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಅಡ್ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇಷನ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಎಫೆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಆಪರೇಷನ್ ಗೋಸ್ ಆನ್ ಇನ್ ಅ ಸ್ಮೂದರ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಇನ್ ಅ ಎಫೆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಮ್ಯಾನರ್. The second point is like, these ensure a high degree of public accountability. Yes, these ensure a high degree of public accountability. So public answerability. So they are, or they ensure a high degree of public answerability. So they are like, there is a good amount of public accountability. Accountability is like being answerable for the work which they have done. ಎಸ್, ಅವ್ರು ಏನು ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಆನ್ಸರೇಬಲ್ ಆಗಿರೋದು. ಸೊ ದೇ ಎನ್ಶೂರ್ ಹೈ ಡಿಗ್ರಿ ಆಫ್ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಅಕೌಂಟೇಬಿಲಿಟಿ. ಎಸ್, ದೇ ಎನ್ಶೂರ್ ಹೈ ಡಿಗ್ರಿ ಆಫ್ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಅಕೌಂಟೇಬಿಲಿಟಿ. So the third point is, the revenue earned by the enterprise the revenue earned by the enterprise goes directly to the treasury and hence is a source of income for the government. Like I told you in the previous point, like the funds which are generated or the fund required for this kind of organization, it comes directly from the government treasury. Yes, through an annual budget. So annual budget ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ ರೈಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಅದು ಟ್ರೆಷರಿಗೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಡಿಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಯೂಸ್ ದಿ ಫಂಡ್ ಅವೈಲೇಬಲ್. ಏನು ಫಂಡ್ ಇದೆ ಅದನ್ನೇನು ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು, ಯುಟಿಲೈಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೋದು. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಇಫ್ ದರ್ ಈಸ್ ಎನಿ ರೆವೆನ್ಯೂ ದಟ್ ಅರೈಸಸ್, ಏನು ರೆವೆನ್ಯೂ ಅರೈಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ದ ರೆವೆನ್ಯೂ ಅರೈಸಿಂಗ್ ಆರ್ ದ ರೆವೆನ್ಯೂ ದಟ್ ಅರೈಸಸ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಬಿ put or it can be deposited into the treasury itself. Yes, it can be deposited into treasury itself. So revenue earned by the enterprise, it goes directly to the treasury. Yes, so it is a source of income for the government. It is a source of income for the government. The fourth merit is where national security is concerned, this firm is most suitable since it is under the direct control and supervision of the concerned ministry. So national security baruvaga, this firm is most suitable. This departmental undertaking form of business organization is most suitable because it is totally under the direct control and supervision of concerned ministry. It is under the direct control and supervision of concerned ministry. So concerned ministry do supervision ಕೆಳಗೆ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. So it's like there is a national security. So national security ಅನ್ನೋ ಮಾತು ಬರುವಾಗ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, it is totally under the control and supervision of the concerned ministry. So therefore there is a high amount of safety available in the organization. So the next concept is limitations of departmental undertakings. Limitations of departmental undertakings. Departmental undertakings fail to provide flexibility, which is essential for the smooth operation of business. They fail to provide flexibility. It's like it is not an autonomous body. So when they are not an autonomous body, they can't take any decision according to their own. So ಅವರ autonomous body ಅಲ್ಲದೆ ಇರೋ ಕಾರಣ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಅವರಿಗೆ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಡಿಸಿಷನ್ಸ್ ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. So the second point is like the employees or heads of the department of such undertakings are not allowed to take independent decision without the approval of ministry concerned. So this leads to delay in the matters where prompt decisions are required. So ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, the head of the department are not allowed to take direct decision, that is independent decision. It is not an autonomous body ಅಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ autonomous body ಅಲ್ಲ ಅನ್ನುವಾಗ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಡಿಸಿಷನ್ಸ್ ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ವೇಟ್ ಫಾರ್ ದಿ ಅಪ್ರೂವಲ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದಿ ಕನ್ಸರ್ನ್ಡ್ ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಟೋಟಲಿ ಪ್ರೊವೈಡ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ದಿಸ್ ಲೀಡ್ಸ್ ಟು ಡಿಲೇ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಡಿಲೇ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ವೇರ್ ಇನ್ ದಿ ಮ್ಯಾಟರ್ಸ್ ರಿಲೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಟು ವಾಟ್ ದಿ ಇನ್ ದಿ ಮ್ಯಾಟರ್ಸ್ ವೇರ್ ಪ್ರಾಂಪ್ಟ್ ಡಿಸಿಷನ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಟೇಕನ್. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಾಂಪ್ಟ್ ಡಿಸಿಷನ್ ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ದೇರ್ ಈಸ್ ನೋ ಇಂಡಿಪೆಂಡೆನ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ಟೇಕಿಂಗ್ ಡಿಸಿಷನ್. ಸೊ ವೆನ್ ಎವರ್ ಯು ವಾಂಟ್ ಟು ಟೇಕ್ ಡಿಸಿಷನ್ಸ್, ವಾಟ್ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಡೂ ಇಸ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ask the approval of the concerned ministry. So ಯಾರು concerned ministry ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅವರ ಅಪ್ರೂವಲ್ನ ಕೇಳಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್. ಸೊ ದ ಥರ್ಡ್ ಒನ್ ಇಸ್ these enterprises are unable to take advantage of business opportunities. The bureaucrats' overcautious and conservative approval does not allow them to take risky ventures. So these enterprises, they are unable to take advantage of business opportunity. So business opportunity na ಯಾವುದೇ ಕಾರಣಕ್ಕೆ ಅಥವಾ ಅಡ್ವಾಂಟೇಜ್ ಏನಿದೆ, ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಆಪರ್ಚುನಿಟೀಸ್ ಏನಿದೆ ಅದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗೋಕ್ಕಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ದೇ ಕಾಂಟ್ ಮೇಕ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಅಡ್ವಾಂಟೇಜ್ ಅವೈಲೇಬಲ್ ಆರ್ ಅಡ್ವಾಂಟೇಜ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಆಪರ್ಚುನಿಟಿ ಅವೈಲೇಬಲ್. ಸೊ ಏನು ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಆಪರ್ಚುನಿಟಿ ಅವೈಲೇಬಲ್ ಇದೆ ಅದರ ಅಡ್ವಾಂಟೇಜನ್ನು ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ. ದ ರೀಸನ್ ಇಸ್ ಲೈಕ್ ದ ಬ್ಯೂರೋಕ್ರಾಟ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಓವರ್ ಕಾಶಿಯಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ conservative approval does not allow them to take risky ventures. So ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, they are not allowed to take any risky ventures. ಸೊ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ risky ventures ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ಬಿಡೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ what happens is like it becomes difficult for them. ಅವ್ರಿಗೇನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಡಿಸಿಷನ್ಸ್ ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. So the next one is there is red tapeism in day-to-day operations and no action can be taken unless it goes through the proper channel of authority. So ಅಲ್ಲಿ red tapeism ಇದೆ ಅಂದರೆ what red tapeism is like excess of rules and regulations there both. Okay, so when there is excess of rules and regulation, it's like it does not, or the activities or operations it can't be taken or carried out in a what smoother manner. The reason is that it has to go through the proper channels of authority. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ರೂಲ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ರೆಗ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಎಕ್ಸೆಸ್ ಆಫ್ ರೂಲ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ರೆಗ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ಸ್, ತುಂಬ ರೂಲ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ರೆಗ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ತುಂಬ ರೂಲ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ರೆಗ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳುವಾಗ ತುಂಬ ರೂಲ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ರೆಗ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಹೇಳುವಾಗ ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಟು ಗೋ ಅಕಾರ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಟು ದಿ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ ಚಾನಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಥಾರಿಟಿ. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಲೈಕ್ ದೆರ್ ಈಸ್ ರೆಡ್ ಟೇಪಿಸಮ್ ಇನ್ ದಿ ಡೇ ಟು ಡೇ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟಿ. ಸೊ ನೋ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಷನ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಬಿ ಟೇಕನ್ ಅನ್ಲೆಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಗೋಸ್ ಥ್ರೂ ದಿ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ ಚಾನಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಥಾರಿಟಿ. ಸೊ ಯಾವುದೇ ಎಂತ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟಾಗಿ ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಇಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಟು ಗೋ ಥ್ರೂ ದಿ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ ಚಾನಲ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಥಾರಿಟಿ. ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಟು ಗೋ ಥ್ರೂ ದಿ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ ಚಾನಲ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಥಾರಿಟಿ. The fifth one is like there is a lot of political interference through the ministry. There is a lot of political interference through the ministry. So ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, as it is under the control of ministry or as it is considered subdivision of the ministry itself, it's like there is a lot of political interference. There is a lot of political interference in through the ministry. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ministry ಇಂದ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ತುಂಬ political interference ಇರುವ chances ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. So the last one is these organizations are usually insensitive to consumer needs and do not provide adequate services to them. These organizations are usually insensitive to consumer needs. They are usually insensitive to consumer needs and do not provide adequate service to them. So they don't provide proper services to the consumer needs. They are not sensitive, they are insensitive to consumer needs, so they don't provide adequate services to the consumers whenever required. Okay, so these are the limitations of your departmental undertakings.